The Ford 427 single overhead cam Cammer, and the Chrysler 426 HEMI. These two legendary powerhouses went head-to-head in one of the fiercest rivalries in automotive history, pushing the limits of speed, power, and innovation. But when it comes down to pure performance, which one was the fastest? Did the Cammer's advanced design give it an edge? Or did the tried-and-true HEMI's brute force prove unbeatable? Watch till the end to find out. In the early 1960s, Ford found itself in a heated rivalry with Chrysler, whose HEMI engines were tearing up the competition in NASCAR. Ford needed an answer, and they came up with something truly special: the 427 single overhead cam Cammer. Introduced in 1963, the original 427 engine featured a top oiler design and was used in various high-performance cars. But Ford engineers wanted more. They decided to take things up a notch by redesigning the engine, which allowed for better airflow, higher RPMs, and improved efficiency. Meanwhile, Chrysler had been working on its own masterpiece, the 426 HEMI. Introduced in 1964, this engine was an evolution of Chrysler's earlier HEMI designs, but featured significant improvements to make it even more powerful and reliable. The secret to the HEMI's success lay in its hemispherical combustion chambers, which allowed for larger valves and better airflow, translating to superior power and torque. Its strong construction meant it could handle the high RPMs demanded by NASCAR without breaking a sweat. The HEMI quickly earned a reputation as a dominant force on the track and soon became a legend in the muscle car scene. And while these two engines may share some similarities, such as their massive 7-liter V8 configurations, their design philosophies, performance characteristics, and legacies are quite different. Let's take a closer look at how these two iconic power plants compare. At their core, both the Ford 427 single overhead cam Cammer and the Chrysler 426 HEMI are big block V8s, but their internal designs take vastly different approaches to achieving power. The Ford 427 single overhead cam Cammer, as the name suggests, features a single overhead camshaft design. This advanced setup eliminates the need for push rods, allowing the engine to rev higher with less friction and better airflow. With a bore and stroke of 4.23 by 3.78 inches and a racing compression ratio of up to 12.5 to 1, the Cammer was built for high RPM dominance. Despite weighing around 680 pounds, it packed a serious punch. Ford offered it with either a single or dual 4-barrel carburetor setup, maximizing performance options. On the other hand, the Chrysler 426 HEMI, with its hemispherical combustion chambers, used a more traditional pushrod design. The HEMI's bore and stroke measured slightly different at 4.25 by 3.75 inches, and it had a street-friendly compression ratio of 10.25 to 1, with racing versions reaching 12.5 to 1. However, the HEMI was a heavyweight, tipping the scales at 843 pounds, partly due to its strong construction and dual Carter 4-barrel carburetors. So Ford's Cammer focused on advanced technology to achieve high RPM power, while Chrysler stuck with tried-and-true pushrod engineering with excellent airflow and torque. Now, when it comes to horsepower and torque, both engines were beasts in their own right. But the Cammer had a clear edge in raw power, especially at higher RPMs. The 427 single overhead cam Cammer, in its single carburetor version, pushed out 615 horsepower at 7,000 RPM, while the dual carburetor setup pushed it even further. Torque figures were equally impressive, with the engine delivering 575 pound-feet at 4,200 RPM. The single overhead cam design allowed for smooth power delivery across a wide RPM range, making it a monster on the track. Meanwhile, the 426 HEMI, in its street-legal form, produced 425 horsepower at 5,000 RPM and around 490 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM. In racing configurations, the HEMI could be tuned for more performance, but its design was more focused on producing massive low-end torque rather than high-revving horsepower. So while the Cammer outperformed the HEMI in sheer horsepower, the HEMI was known for its bulletproof reliability and torque-heavy nature, making it a powerhouse in straight-line acceleration. But what groundbreaking engineering tricks did Ford and Chrysler use to squeeze every ounce of power from these legendary engines? And which one had the smarter design? Well, Ford's 427 single overhead cam Cammer was born out of necessity to combat Chrysler's racing dominance, and it brought several groundbreaking innovations to the table. Its single overhead cam valve train design allowed for higher RPM capabilities and reduced friction, making it more efficient compared to pushrod engines. A complex 7-foot-long timing chain drove the camshaft from an idler shaft, an engineering marvel at the time. The Cammer also incorporated hemispherical combustion chambers, a feature it shared with the HEMI, which improved airflow and combustion efficiency. Chrysler's 426 HEMI, however, focused on simplicity and brute force. Its hemispherical chamber design allowed for large valves, optimizing power and efficiency without needing complex overhead cam systems. While not as high revving as the Cammer, it was a durable, torquey engine that could take a beating and keep going. Although both engines were engineering marvels, their paths in motorsports took different turns. Even though the Ford 427 single overhead cam Cammer was banned from NASCAR for being too advanced, it found a second life in drag racing, where it became a legend in classes like AFX and Funny Car. The Chrysler 426 HEMI, however, cemented its place in history as the elephant engine, dominating NASCAR and becoming a cornerstone of the American muscle car movement. Now, when it comes to the drag strip, which engine had the edge? Ford's high-revving Cammer with its race-bred technology, or Chrysler's HEMI with its raw, tire-shredding torque? Well, both the Cammer and the HEMI had impressive track records, but Ford's 427 single overhead cam Cammer holds a distinct advantage in terms of raw horsepower and acceleration. The Cammer is all about brute force and high RPM power. With dual 4-barrel carburetors, it could pump out an astonishing 657 horsepower at 7,500 RPM, giving it an edge in raw acceleration. On the drag strip, the Cammer became a force to be reckoned with, particularly in the A factory experimental class, where it dominated the competition. It was known to run quarter-mile times in the low 10-second range, sometimes even dipping into the high 9s, an incredible feat for the time. The Cammer's ability to rev high and maintain power throughout the run made it a favorite among drag racers looking for an edge. Now, the HEMI might not have matched the Cammer's peak horsepower, but it was still seriously powerful. But here's the deal. The racing versions were tuned to push out even more power, and the street version was already packing a huge 425 horsepower. What the HEMI lacked in top-end power, it made up for with its massive torque. This made it a consistent and reliable choice for drag racers looking for strong launches and sustained power throughout the quarter mile. The HEMI became common in drag racing, finding success in classes like Super Stock and Pro Stock. So, if you're looking for sheer speed and high RPM dominance, the Ford 427 single overhead cam Cammer takes the win. However, the 426 HEMI's reliability and consistency made it a favorite for racers who needed a more balanced approach. But while drag racing is all about short bursts of speed, long-distance performance requires a different set of qualities: durability, fuel efficiency, and sustained power output. The Cammer's design is focused on high RPM performance, which comes with some trade-offs in long-distance driving. The complex single overhead cam valve train requires more precise maintenance and can create reliability concerns over extended use. Additionally, the engine's cooling demands and high operating temperatures can create challenges during prolonged operation. Another factor to consider is weight. While lighter than the HEMI at around 680 pounds, the Cammer's weight distribution and high revving nature can impact fuel efficiency and handling on longer drives. Simply put, the Cammer excels in short bursts, but sustaining that performance over hundreds of miles is a different story. The HEMI, on the other hand, was built with durability and longevity in mind. Its pushrod design is simpler and more reliable compared to the Cammer's overhead cam setup, making it a more practical choice for endurance races and long-distance cruising. Despite weighing around 843 pounds, The HEMI's design ensures a smoother power delivery and better fuel efficiency over long trips. Thanks to its torque-rich power band, the HEMI provides strong, consistent power without the need to constantly push it to high RPMs. This makes it ideal for situations where sustained performance and dependability are crucial, such as endurance racing or long highway drives. So, if one was planning to push the engine to its limits over long distances, the 426 HEMI is the clear winner. Its strong and simpler design make it better suited for sustained power delivery and reliability. Now, do you know which legendary muscle cars had the honor of being powered by these monstrous engines? The Cammer, designed for NASCAR domination, found its true home on the drag strip. It powered prototypes like the Ford Galaxy and became a favorite among drag racing legends such as Connie Coletta and Pete Robinson. Its high-revving nature and immense power made it a force in quarter-mile racing and even in top-fuel dragsters. On the other hand, the 426 HEMI became a production legend, finding its way into some of the most iconic muscle cars ever built. Cars like the Dodge Charger, Plymouth Superbird, and Barracuda carried the HEMI's street-shaking power, making them kings of both the track and the boulevard. Whether it was the high-speed dominance of the Superbird or the raw muscle of the Charger, the HEMI became known for American performance. So while the Cammer thrived in specialized racing, the HEMI cemented itself in mainstream muscle car culture. Both engines represent different sides of the horsepower wars. Ford's advanced racing tech versus Chrysler's street and track dominance. Which engine do you think is the fastest? The Ford 427 Cammer or the Chrysler 426 HEMI? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more car battles, and click here to watch the video on Ford's banned 427 engine. The